Let's be real for a second. Walking into Costco is already a test of willpower, but walking into the Costco Bakery section, that's a different level of dangerous. You're hit with the smell of caramelized sugar and fresh butter before you even show your membership card at the door. It's a magical place, but it's also incredibly intimidating. Here's the problem. Everything in that bakery is enormous. You can't just buy a single cupcake to see if it's good. You have to commit to a 12-pack the size of a small toddler. Buying a bad product here isn't just an annoying snack. It's a commitment to eating 3 pounds of mediocrity, and nobody wants that buyer's regret staring at them from the kitchen counter for a week. You want to know that the massive clamshell container you're buckling into the passenger seat is actually worth the money and the inevitable carb coma. So, I'm taking one for the team. I've spent way too much time, and let's be honest, way too much money, researching, tasting, and debating the merits of the gold standards in the warehouse aisles. Today, we are ranking 12 of the most popular Costco bakery items from absolute worst to best, so you know exactly what to sprint toward and what to walk right past. Before we dive into this sugar rush, do me a huge favor and hit that like button if you appreciate me sacrificing my waistline for science, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on future food rankings. Now, a quick disclaimer before we start throwing shade. Costco generally has incredibly high quality standards. When I say something is the worst on this list, I don't necessarily mean it's inedible trash. It usually just means it's underwhelming compared to the superstars further down the rankings, or maybe the value proposition just isn't there. We're looking for that perfect intersection of taste, price, and that elusive wow factor that makes you immediately want a second piece. Let's start at the bottom of the barrel. 12th on our list, coming in dead last, are the Kirkland Signature Bagels. This is a tough one because years ago, Costco sold Einstein Brothers bagels, and they were fantastic. But they brought the operation in-house a while back to the Kirkland brand, and the quality took a nosedive. Look, the value is undeniable. You get 2 massive sleeves for an incredibly low price. If you are feeding an army of teenagers on a budget, they make sense. But in the world of actual bagels, these are bottom tier. They are frequently dense and bready, rather than having that signature chewy interior. They lack the crucial, shiny, slightly crisp exterior of a real water-boiled bagel. Worst of all, they seem to stale incredibly fast. Unless you are immediately freezing the second bag the moment you get home, you're probably going to end up throwing half of them away or forcing yourself to eat cardboard toast by day 3. They're just fine as a vehicle for a ton of cream cheese, but they feel like generic grocery store filler compared to the gourmet level of other items nearby. Moving up slightly to number 11, we have the artisan rolls. You know the ones I'm talking about, that massive sack of squarish, flour-dusted ciabatta-style rolls. These are frustrating because they actually taste pretty good. They have a nice, slight sourdough tang to the dough and a satisfying, hearty interior crumb. The problem here is almost entirely Ural. The crust is often aggressively hard. If you try to make an everyday sandwich with these, by the second bite, the roof of your mouth is absolutely shredded. They require serious jaw work. They are fantastic if you're serving a hearty beef stew or chili and you need something robust for dipping that won't disintegrate. But as a standard sandwich roll, they're just too much work to eat comfortably. Plus, like the bagels, the quantity is overwhelming. Unless you're running a small catering operation out of your kitchen, these turn into rock-hard doorstops before the average family can finish the bag. 10th place goes to something that looks incredible in the package, but almost always disappoints in reality: the cinnamon pull-apart. Sometimes your local warehouse might format these as giant individual cinnamon rolls, but it's essentially the same dough. Visually, this thing is a stunner. It's usually oozing with cream cheese frosting and smells like heaven when you happen to walk by as they are putting them out. But the execution is incredibly inconsistent. If by some miracle you manage to grab a container that came out of the oven 10 minutes ago, it's a life-changing experience. but 95% of the time, you're buying one that's been sitting under those fluorescent lights for hours. The result is dough that has dried out significantly. You'll get a super sweet, sticky outer ring, but the inner layers are often strangely dry and bread-like, lacking that gooey cinnamon filling you crave in the center. You almost have to microwave every piece to bring it back to life, and even then, it's just okay. It's a lot of calories for something that is mediocre more often than it is great. Landing at number 9 are the famous chocolate chunk cookies. I know, put down your pitchforks. This might be controversial because people absolutely love these things. And don't get me wrong, if someone puts a platter of these out at a party, I'm definitely eating at least 2. They are loaded with high-quality chocolate chunks, not just little chips, which is a major plus, and you get huge hunks of chocolate in every bite. But we have to be critical here. These cookies are intensely rich and incredibly greasy. You almost need a napkin just to hold one, because the butter content is so high it leaves a slick on your fingers. They also tend to bake up very flat and spread out, lacking that thick, chewy interior that top-tier bakery cookies usually have. They are delicious, but they are heavy. After half a cookie, you really feel it. They are good, but in my opinion, they aren't the slam-dunk best dessert option in the bakery, especially considering how quickly they turn from a chewy delight on day 1 to a crispy frisbee by day 2 on the counter. 8th on the list is a Costco staple that almost every member has a love-hate relationship with: the Kirkland Signature Muffins. You know the drill. You can't just buy 1 pack of 6. The rules of the warehouse mandate that you walk out with 2 containers for a total of 12 muffins. It's an incredible value, but it's also a lot of muffin for one household to handle. These things are absolute units. They aren't even muffins. They are basically small cakes that have been sanctioned for breakfast consumption. The variety is usually great, ranging from the classic blueberry and double chocolate to seasonal favorites like pumpkin spice or almond poppy seed. However, the reason they aren't higher on the list is the urée and the nutritional commitment. These muffins are notoriously heavy on the oil. If you leave one on a napkin for 5 minutes, that napkin becomes translucent. They are delicious in that decadent supermarket bakery way, but they lack a certain finesse. The tops are often sticky, and the crumb is so dense that eating a whole one feels like a physical challenge. They also tend to get a bit soggy if they sit in the plastic container for more than 2 days because they retain so much moisture. They're a classic for a reason, but they fall just short of the top tier because they're a bit one-note in their sweetness and can feel a little overwhelming after the 4th or 5th bite. Coming in at number 7, we have the legendary Costco half-sheet cake. This is the undisputed champion of office parties, graduation ceremonies, and 5-year-old birthday bashes across the country. In terms of pure bang for your buck, nothing else in the store, and maybe even the world, can compete with this. For about $25, you get a cake that can easily feed 40 people. It's a massive, heavy slab of vanilla or chocolate goodness. What really saves this from being just another grocery store cake is the mousse filling. That layer of creamy, light filling between the cake layers elevates the whole experience and prevents it from feeling like a dry sponge. The buttercream frosting is also surprisingly good. It's sweet, sure, but it has a decent flavor that doesn't just taste like pure shortening. The only reason it's at number 7 and not higher is that it's strictly a utility item. You buy this for a crowd, not for a gourmet dessert experience at home. It's reliable, it's iconic, and it's a core memory for many of us. But compared to some of the more artisanal offerings we're about to discuss, it's a bit basic. Still, if you're enjoying this breakdown and finding it helpful for your next shopping trip, don't forget to share this video with your favorite Costco shopping buddy. It really helps the channel out, and I'd love to hear in the comments which cake flavor you're Team Vanilla or Team Chocolate. Moving into the 6th spot, we have the seasonal apple pie. I specify seasonal because while Costco often has some form of apple dessert, the massive 5-pound lattice crust apple pie that appears in the fall and winter is a beast of its own. When you pick this thing up, you genuinely feel like you've been at the gym. It is packed to the brim with real sliced apples, not just some syrupy goo with a few chunks of fruit. The cinnamon-sugar ratio is usually spot on, and the crust is impressively flaky for a mass-produced item. The main drawback here is the sheer size. It is so big that the middle often struggles to stay structurally sound when you cut a slice, leading to a bit of a slump on the plate. Also, because it's so deep, sometimes the very bottom crust can get a little bit soggy from the apple juices. It's a fantastic pie, especially when you pop a slice in the oven and serve it with a scoop of vanilla bean ice cream, but it requires a bit of effort to serve properly, and definitely requires an army of people to finish before it goes bad. It's a must-buy for Thanksgiving, but maybe not an every-week staple. Now we are getting into the heavy hitters. 5th place goes to the assorted danishes. Usually these come in a 4-pack where you can choose 2 different flavors, like cherry, cream cheese, or almond. These are, in my humble opinion, one of the most underrated items in the entire bakery. The pastry itself is remarkably high quality. It's laminated with enough butter to give you those distinct crispy layers that shatter when you bite into them. The cream cheese variety is a personal favorite because the filling isn't overly sweet. It has that nice tangy cheesecake vibe that pairs perfectly with a hot cup of black coffee. The almond ones are equally impressive, often topped with sliced almonds for a great Ural contrast. The only reason these aren't in the top 3 is that they are very session dependent. They are best on the very first day. By day 2, the pastry loses that crucial crunch and becomes a bit chewy. If you have an air fryer, though, you can revive these in about 2 minutes, and they taste like they just came out of a Parisian boulangerie. They are a sophisticated step up from the muffins and feel like a real treat rather than just a bulk snack. Before we move on to the final 4, the absolute creme de la creme of the Costco Bakery, take a second to make sure you've hit that subscribe button and turned on notifications. We're about to talk about the items that people literally wait in line for, the ones that have entire Facebook groups dedicated to tracking their arrival in stores. You don't want to miss out on seeing which item took the number 1 spot, especially since the top 3 are separated by the thinnest of margins. As we look at where we've been, from the dense bagels to the flaky danishes, you can see a clear trend. Costco excels when they lean into traditional techniques, better fats, real fruit, and proper lamination. The items that fall lower on the list are usually the ones where the bulk aspect of the warehouse overrides the culinary quality. But as we move into the top 4, we're looking at items where Costco has managed to achieve the impossible, mass-producing something that tastes like it was made in a high-end, small-batch kitchen. These next few items are the ones that make a Costco membership worth the price of admission all on their own. Get your shopping lists ready, because we are covering the absolute legends of the bakery aisle. We are finally at the summit, the mountaintop of the Costco Bakery. These top 4 items aren't just food, they are cultural touchstones for the Costco faithful. If you've stuck with me this far, you clearly take your pastries as seriously as I do. So before we reveal the 4th place winner, make sure you've shared this video with someone who needs a little help planning their next grocery run. We're about to talk about the items that essentially pay for the cost of your membership in pure satisfaction alone. 4th on our list is the legendary Kirkland Signature Cheesecake. This thing is a powerhouse. It's a massive 9-inch, New York-style cheesecake that weighs in at about 5 pounds. What makes this so impressive is the consistency. If you go to a high-end dessert shop, you might pay $40 or $50 for a cheesecake of this caliber. At Costco, you're getting that same dense, creamy, velvety ewer for a fraction of the price. The graham cracker crust is thick enough to provide a solid base without being overly crumbly, and the cheesecake itself has that perfect balance of sweetness and tang. It's incredibly versatile, too. You can serve it plain, but it's just as easy to top it with fresh berries, a chocolate drizzle, or some caramel to make it look like a custom creation. The reason it's not in the top 3 is simply because it's so rich that you can only handle a small sliver at a time, making it a bit of a marathon to finish. But in terms of quality and value, it's an absolute titan. Third place goes to the item that many people consider the fanciest thing in the entire warehouse, the tuxedo mousse cake. You'll usually find this one in the refrigerated section of the bakery, tucked away in its sleek rectangular container. This cake is an architectural marvel of chocolate. You've got layers of dense chocolate cake, creamy chocolate mousse, white chocolate mousse, and a rich chocolate ganache on top. It even has these little chocolate decorations that make it look like it came from a boutique patisserie in the city. When you bring this to a dinner party, people assume you spent a fortune. The flavor profile is sophisticated. It's not just a sugar bomb. The different layers provide varied yurs that keep every bite interesting. It's the kind of dessert that feels like a true indulgence, and it's consistently one of the best-reviewed items by Costco fanatics for a reason. It bridges the gap between grocery store cake and fine dining dessert better than anything else on the market. Now we've reached the runner-up spot, and it's an item that is practically synonymous with the holiday season in America, the Costco pumpkin pie. This pie is a phenomenon. It is 12 inches of pure, unadulterated tradition. Every year, Costco sells millions of these, and for good reason. First, let's talk about the price. It is notoriously cheap, often under $6, for a pie that is large enough to serve as a hubcap for a small car. But it's not just about the price. The flavor is remarkably consistent. The spice blend is warm and balanced, never overpowering the natural sweetness of the pumpkin. The filling is smooth and firm, holding its shape perfectly when sliced, which is a rare feat for a pie of this size. There's a reason people wait in massive lines during the week of Thanksgiving just to get their hands on one of these. It is the gold standard for mass-produced pies, and it's one of those rare cases where the hype is 100% justified. But finally, we have reached the #1 spot. The undisputed champion of the Costco Bakery, the item that is a mandatory addition to almost every cart, is the Kirkland Signature Butter Croissants. You get a pack of 12 of these golden crescent-shaped beauties, and they are, quite simply, a masterclass in bakery engineering. What makes these the best? It's the versatility. You can use them for the best breakfast sandwich of your life. Turn them into a sophisticated chicken salad lunch, or just toast one up with a little jam for a snack. They are made with real butter, no margarine shortcuts here, and you can tell by the way they shatter into a million flaky shards when you bite into them. The lamination is incredible. You can see the beautiful air pockets and layers inside when you cut them open. They manage to be light and airy while still being satisfyingly buttery and rich. Plus, here is a pro tip. If you pop these in the air fryer for just 2 or 3 minutes at 350 degrees, they become even better than when they were fresh on the shelf. They are the ultimate Costco hack item because they provide high-end, French-style quality at a price point that makes absolutely no sense. They are the backbone of the bakery department and the one item I recommend to every single person who walks through those sliding warehouse doors. So there you have it. The definitive ranking of 12 iconic Costco bakery items. Whether you're a croissant loyalist or a tuxedo cake devotee, there's no denying that the bakery is the heart and soul of the Costco experience. I want to hear from you in the comments, though. Did I get it right? Is there an item I missed that absolutely should have been in the top 3? Or do you think I was too hard on the bagels? Let's get a discussion going down below. If you found this ranking helpful and it's going to save you from a bad bakery purchase on your next trip, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I've got plenty more deep dives into your favorite stores and products coming your way, and you won't want to miss them. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next video.